not. But
Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you this afternoon.
Hello.
So, Craig, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us, how you ended up here, just to kind of kick this off.
Great. Absolutely. Yeah. My name is Craig Truster. I'm a biologist. I've been working with Leighton and also this company, Ecosphere Sciences, for a number of years now, working on some exciting projects with looking to truly capture biology and to kickstart this regenerative transition to agriculture. So my background mostly started in fungi, soil biology around bioremediation. And then as I learned more about fungi, I learned about compost, all the bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, all the flora and in the soils and how that builds the fauna over on top of that health. So doing hands-on stuff, education to consulting, both on projects, everything from farms into soil and compost installations. I've been thrilled to be able to work more in the regenerative agriculture research and development, working with Ecosphere Sciences. So yeah, and I'm excited for everyone to learn more about Ecosphere Sciences, the Muncher, and this amazing technology that we're working to better characterize and understand, which has some incredible potential to really accelerate this transition to regenerative agriculture.
Yeah, we're still blown away every time we apply it and see what happens. Amy, why don't you introduce yourself again and give us a little backstory on how you ended up becoming such a great storyteller?
I'm Amy Smyth, and I've been making films for 5 years now, it really started of just wanting to be able to communicate more than a still image could communicate, and tell full-length stories of people who are doing amazing things in this world, just play my part in helping to move along positive change.
Awesome. And we definitely want to post her website because she's got a ton of other films out there that are very impressive. And Dan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and how you ended up here?
Hi, yeah, Daniel Ailes. Well, I've done quite a bit throughout my life, from professional sports to the last 13 years, been in the world of mycology, growing mushrooms and creating supplements. Really passionate about the soil. Come from a family of agriculture on both the father and mother side. So it's extremely important. And doing that, that's what's really brought me here. Working with my father, who first got involved with Mo, and then talked to me about it, and I got super excited. So this is something that I don't think I could replicate any other way with any of the other things that I do. So this is just amazing. So thank you.
Yeah. And Mo, the star, how did you, we'll hear your backstory, but how did you first meet Gary and Ron?
We met several years ago when they kind of got a word about what we were doing and or what I was doing, and they came out to see my original demonstration system, a little 30-gallon system in operation, and were very impressed with it. And we came together as a group and formed a company and took it to the next level. We built some larger systems and did more testing and brought the Muncher to what it is today.
Fantastic. Yeah, I met you guys 3 years ago, literally.
Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago. And when I found out what you guys are doing, man, I signed on 100%. I think that this is the answer to so many of humanity's problems. And so I really appreciate you guys as a team and have plenty of fun working with you guys over the last course of the last 3 years. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and tee this up and let's watch this documentary that Amy put together.
All right. My mother died of cancer at 47. She was a kind of small town farm girl. She would help take care of the farm by cooking and cleaning, all the various things like that while the men were out working. She was only 47 years old when she passed. That was a little too young. You have these clusters of all these relatively young people getting sick and dying. It's like, this doesn't make sense. And it was largely attributed to exposure to chemicals like an agricultural runoff. I was very young at the time, but I became aware of what was happening, and I wanted to do something about this, and I wanted to create something that would move us away from using these compounds and help prevent people from having to die the way my mother did. What I was initially aiming to do was simply clear agricultural runoff of contamination. That was the only thing that I was initially interested in. It grew little by little to become the process that it is today, called the Muncher. My name is Mohammed Memon of Ecosphere Sciences. I am the inventor and creator of the aerobic waste processing system that we call the Muncher. The aerobic process that the Muncher uses rapidly breaks down the waste, breaks it down into its basic components, and turns it into a super nutrient-rich, biologically active fertilizer product in less than an hour. There has been a long-standing belief that you cannot break down waste aerobically. You're not supposed to be able to break waste down this way.
So I called Mo and I said, "Hi Mo, my name is Leighton Morrison, I'm a soil biologist, soil engineer, blah, blah, blah." I immediately just tried to tear him apart. And, like lovingly, I wasn't, being nasty to him, but I was like, I was asking really hard questions.
He was just like, "No, you can't be doing this. This is impossible."
I don't think it's possible to do aerobic digestion. Digestion is done anaerobically. All living things digest anaerobically.
He looked at what I had created and he was just like, "Oh, you're just so full of it."
I just could not believe that he had accomplished something that I thought was impossible.
I challenged him, I said, "Go for it. Try to break it apart."
I brought home samples, I scoped them. I was just blown away. When I got done trying to poke holes in Mo and I couldn't, I was ecstatic. And then I started this journey and I was like, "Oh my God, you did it. You did it."
Didn't really have the full understanding and explanation. Then Leighton introduced us to the soil food web, and that kind of brought around the full picture, and we're like, oh, okay, now this is really making sense. This is how we are functioning within this ecosystem.
People don't realize as above, as below. The soil food web is a consortium, is a family, is an ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, yeasts, molds, nematodes, microorthopods, earthworms. In a really healthy soil environment, 1 teaspoon has more life, more different organisms than there are people on the planet. Those microbes are the reason for everything above the soil. People don't really comprehend just what that means. There would be no life, there would be no humans, there would be nothing if it wasn't for them. And we've degraded our soils to the point that they have been depleted.
Looking at farming in the last 20 years, things have got progressively worse. People see food on the table, they see it in the stores, but they don't realize that it takes a lot of effort, a lot of stress upon farmers to try to produce a high quality crop. It led me into questioning why things aren't thriving. It came down to our soil was not balanced. When I was a kid, peaches were the size of your hand and trees were really healthy, things were thriving. And we really weren't having to put heavy inputs into the soil. The native soil were doing their job. Because of our soil profile, our crops are getting harder to grow, costs are increasing. We have a lot of things up against us that we didn't have 20 years ago. The soil in our area has a lot of potential. There's a lot of things that are locked up in the soil that was just not available to the root structure. When I first heard about the Muncher, I got very excited. It's a perfect fit for being able to replenish the soil. Being able to take that product that comes from the farm, which is a waste that normally would go to a dump site, but be able to make that into a solution to directly inject or to put through sprinklers is an exciting thing for me, because what comes from the farm and what's produced off these trees is the best quality nutrients that you can replenish the soil with. It could be a complete game changer for local farmers and possibly people around the world.
The farmers, it's not their fault. They've only been given the tools that they have to do what they have to do to support themselves and supply all of us with food. It's an escalation that started with
the farming revolution of really pushing NPK. The salespeople keep telling you, no, you need more nitrogen, you need more nitrogen. In reality, you don't need any nitrogen. You just need the biology that can break that organic nitrogen up and make it plant available. The real issue now is lack of information. We need to move into organic regenerative practices, which bring back the environment, bring back the ecology. Anything that's dead or diseased or whatever, it falls to the ground and comes back into soil and comes back into the plant. That's what nature does. Nature doesn't take anything away. We take things away. That's the problem. The best food for a plant is the plant itself. Right now, all the waste is being hauled to landfills. They take this organic matter, they grind it up, and they're forced to go through pathogen reduction. You cook it at 160 degrees, you turn it 5 times over. I think it's 30 days. It's being buried, and it's releasing methane. The existing system is kind of problematic.
My name's David Camarillo. I've been with Agrman since 1990-91. We started with the green waste in Ventura County, and then it just started growing from there. Green waste is picked up from residential areas, and that is brought to the facility. We're managing it, making compost, biomulch, and any other soil blends that we can from the recycled material. As of today, we're at 1.2 million tons of green waste removed from landfills. We're always on the bubble because of regulations in California on keeping material on site. Not many composters have protozoa and ciliates in their compost. The Muncher juice contains the catalyst to produce the protozoa and the nematodes that we rarely have, and having systems like the Muncher and the ability that it has to at least get us quality compost, there's a big benefit to that. So how can you mix boutique type composters with commercial composters? Can you have a really high quality compost produced at a massive level? That is the fight that we're all fighting now.
We were able to increase the nutritional value of the compost. We had nematodes, we had protozoa. It was incredible. So we turned a compost that's immature and flipped it on its head and made it so that it had 100% seed germination and 100% plant vigor. So by using Muncher juice, we could literally just get through pathogen reduction, spray it on the product, create this biointensive compost, and go out the door on the 9th day. And we had biologics in a matter of a couple of days. But it's winning because now it's turned into gold. You spun lead into gold. Instead of creating a problem, you're creating a solution that fixes, like I said, all the way up the chain. And the Muncher juice is solving so many problems.
We started smelling the smoke and then seeing the smoke. There's the whole ridge line right behind me. And the winds kept getting stronger and stronger. We had just evacuated a month before, and so from where I was sitting, like, sure, this was really scary and this was really big, but we've done this before. The next day, we found out that the house had burned down. And it's one of those things that you almost can't believe. It's so intangible, and you don't get to see it. And the fires were still going. There was still so much loss happening. It was just in shock for a while. We started to kind of hear about the chemicals that were being leached into the air from these houses burning. And I think that's when it really started to hit me, because I started to think about my garden, that these plants and that this land and that this soil that I had poured so much time and love into could just be wiped out. I'm standing here and I'm looking around at like what used to be a kitchen and a home and smelling toxins and looking out at land that I can't tend to or help heal. I came back to the house for the first time and saw the state that it was in. Ecosphere got put on my radar, and I had a call with Ron, and I just remember like my whole body lighting up. He shared with me how the Muncher juice was able to lift glyphosates out of the soil. And like that alone blew my mind. I study permaculture. I've been teaching permaculture for 7 years. The way they were able to use this simple technology of composting to break the bonds of these toxic chemicals that were being stored in the soil, to use this problem as an opportunity to create solution on a much larger scale is beautiful, right? Because this doesn't just apply to burn sites. This applies to any soil that we as humans have degraded and misused. This is the beginning of a road back to how we can mend our relationship with soil, which is the building block of life.
Biology can solve any problem. You know, it's bad that a house burns, but when you concentrate so many houses so close together and then you burn them, you're turning different compounds into other compounds and other volatile organic compounds. So it creates a toxic soup, for lack of better words, or a toxic ash. What the Muncher juice does is starts to attack these compounds and degrades them in a way that logarithmically pulls them apart into their original components, which are harmless. What we understand of how toxic compounds degrade is through solubilizing and degrading bacteria, specifically in the soil in situ. We also got fungi and plants that help. But in the Muncher specifically, by having these degraders and desolubilizers, you can start with this really long, complex carbon chain, which is the toxic compound, and you can start snapping it in half and breaking again and breaking again, and then the other biology mines it from the ends. So now you've logarithmically broken this thing down to something that's harmless, back to natural elements. So by applying Muncher juice to burn scars, you can really turn them around quite quickly.
All I was doing was figuring out how to break down toxins in agricultural runoff. We know the bacteria breaks things down, and so that was the starting point. Create let's just say a toxic environment and see if the bacteria could correct it. I don't have any formal training. I would be considered more of a citizen scientist. I did it all by just studying research on my own, trial and error as I was developing the process. And that took several years to figure out. And then I started discovering, wait a minute, there's more things going on here. I would be pouring the liquid when I was even just running the water treatment. I would just pour it out into my yard, and all of a sudden I'm noticing, wow, my plants are growing pretty amazingly. We'd put it on the trees, they come back to full life. So I'm like, this is pretty incredible. Something's going on here. This could be possible that I could do this with solid waste as well, and therefore not only reduce contamination in the agricultural runoff in the water systems, but take care of solid organic waste as well, which is a huge problem. But as I started moving into the solid waste, it went to a whole different level. We bring organic waste into a large grinding system, and that goes to a fine grinding system. And as it turns out, there just is no one machine that does it. Didn't realize that I had stepped into one of the most difficult issues or problems in the grinding world. I couldn't tell you how many high-speed shredders that I just destroyed. Going, oh, there goes another one. The rental company was like, you can't rent any more of these, Mo. When you start mixing different kinds of materials, you're going to clog that machine. So we ended up incorporating a mixture of equipment to be able to accomplish this. Our objective here is to bring the particles down to first a uniform size and then to the smallest size possible so that it can run through the system more efficiently. So we put it through the big grinder, we put it through a fine grinder. I then have a grinder pump that finely macerates the material. Then it goes into the homogenizing tank, which is a tank where we establish a liquid and solid ratio so that, again, the waste will ideally process within the digester. And once the waste is then sent into the digester, again, with its liquid solid ratio established, it is inoculated to the biological mix. And now, through a combination of heat, agitation, and aeration, it is broken down very rapidly and turned into the super nutrient-rich output product that we generate. It's all maintained automatically, but we have pH monitors and sensors, and we like to operate within a neutral range of pH between 6 and 7. This is ideal for aerobic bacteria to thrive. It's pumped out with a portion of the material being recirculated back through the system to maintain the biological process, and it just keeps running. And by maintaining that biological process, we can continuously, rapidly introduce batches of waste and rapidly break them down. So here is some Muncher juice. This is the liquid output from the Muncher system, and this is a super biologically rich, biologically activated fertilizer product.
The Muncher juice is nature catalyzed and stimulated and amplified. It's 4 products in one. It's a biological inoculant, providing what we need, the nutrient cyclers. It provides what we call biostimulant. It's a secondary and tertiary metabolite, so it has plant hormones, plant growth regulators, plant growth promoters, root stimulators, and lastly and most importantly, it has the biofilm. The biofilm is what allows those sand, silt, and clay particles to come together, bond, and begin to form aggregates. It creates the perfect environment, like amniotic fluid, like primordial soup, where everything comes together and starts to function at an incredibly fast pace.
What makes you most excited about what we've just done for the last 8 hours?
I think just the potential for growth. I mean, it is so unbelievably exciting to me that this land is being given the opportunity to heal, and I just am like seeing the ripple effect too. Like, if this is what 5 of us can get done in a single day, just imagining what can be done on a citywide scale or a statewide scale. Like this is total magic. I'm so excited to see what starts to blossom here and be able to scatter some more seeds.
So we sprayed the Muncher juice on the pile to inoculate it, and what happens is that those microbes, those communities and families of microbes are going to help the plants that they're applied to release the nutrients that are bound up in the soil. Andy Rizos Sciences, she showed us the increased level of microbes, the protozoa and nematodes, and we were in the millions, buddy.
I saw the little bugs and that was like tripping me out. I was like, that's in there? That is crazy. Because it was just like a couple drops on a slide, and I'm looking at which looks like a snake under the microscope, you know, moving around, and then I'm seeing these little circles like floating around, little protozoa, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's in there. And that's where it starts. I mean, if we have a quality product that's gonna produce a higher quality vegetable or flower that our customers are growing using our products and our bag products in the future, I think that's great. That's more business for us.
So now that we've sprayed the land, I'm so curious, can you tell me, like, what is the Muncher juice actually doing? Like, if we were gonna zoom in.
So if you start pulling apart a long chain carbon compound, say you grab a carbon off of it, now you've exposed something that was behind it. The mycorrhizae stole the carbon, so now a bacteria can come in and steal the calcium or steal the phosphate. And so that compound starts to break down. So they're eating it from both ends. Also in the mix is bacteria that are called solubilizing, degrading, and decomposing. So those guys can hit the middle of the chain. So if you snap that in the middle, now you've got 2 open ends. And again and again and again. So the faster they degrade and solubilize, the faster that stuff goes away. It goes back into its original form, harmless. Actually beneficial.
So you're just amplifying exactly what would naturally be happening.
That's it, amplifying. That's a great way of putting it.
How are the test results looking so far?
After the first day of applying, I saw an increase in nitrogen levels in
the 8-inch, and then following down to 24-inch within 72 hours. So far, we've been seeing an increase in the potassium levels and seeing the nitrogen levels start to stabilize.
Oh, that's great. That's really good news.
It's a big deal because, you know, typically a nitrate or anything else you put in the ground just does spikes and then it drop.
Right. Yeah, you see it jump up and then drop back down dramatically, right?
Yeah, it's not about the huge spikes, not about the huge drops. It's about finding that balance. We've also been noticing really the water retention levels have started to increase also.
Really? With the water restrictions getting tighter and tighter, we have to just be better and better utilizing every tool to optimize growth, use the least amount of water, make sure we have all the nutrients possible. Once we create healthy soil and restore the proper biology, it'll remain that way. We can maintain it, maintain that health.
It's a great solution. So there's a lot of good things to come, and you know we're going to have tons of data, SAP analysis backing that up. It's a beginning step right now, but there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah, agree.
Data is critical because everybody wants to touch the palms of Jesus's hand and feel the nail hole. We humans are very particular in what we believe in, especially nowadays in 2025. If your data is done responsibly, it builds a stairway that is a path that leads you along to an understanding that's undisputable, whether it's in your mind or whether it's in the science mind.
We really did create something amazing, and from just believing it and being kind of intuitive about it, then we started really figuring out what was going on, and we are just beginning to tap into the unknown, and it is a vast ocean.
So there's still a lot of work we need to do on this, but we've unlocked a tremendous amount that validates the continuing testing of this. So we're like 3 stories up. With what Mo can do, what the machine can do, it can take something that people are paying to get rid of and heal the soil at the same time. Oh, come on, man, that's a dream come true. And it does what my dream is to fix soil and bring health back to people.
We have amazing advances in science and technology and just incredible things that we've accomplished. But to do well, to survive and be healthy, we need to go back to natural practices, and we need to create a healthy world again that can coexist with that technology.
10 years ago, I was laughed at quite often when I talked about biology and making better compost and managing these kinds of green waste systems. Now I get calls from them saying, hey, you remember that stuff you used to talk about? Well, we're getting more and more demand. So it's an honor to be here present at this point in time with enough knowledge and resources that I can help them move that needle in a more responsible way.
We want to help mankind. We want to make soil healthy again, plants healthy again, and therefore make humanity healthy.
The biggest answer to our human survival, it's not going to be computer, it's not going to be AI, it's going to be soil. Well, there's nothing biology can't fix. All life comes from the soil, all life goes back to the soil. And the answer is, how do we take what we've depleted and degraded and allow the biology to bring it back into its fertility? That's the Muncher juice.
All right.
So inspiring. Who did we lose? Did we lose Mo?
Mo's here. No, that was awesome, huh?
There he is. There's Mo. Yeah, Amy, you just did such a great job on that. Again, every time I watch it, I just get like, oh my God.
Hello.
more.
So do I, actually. It was such a.
That was something else, Amy. Absolutely, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thanks for getting me a long mow. It was just, it's been an adventure, and I'm excited to see where you go next.
Absolutely.
We are working on some exciting things even as we're speaking right now.
Yeah. So, Matt, do you want to pop on and introduce yourself and tell us what you're experiencing in plant reaction?
Oh, you know what? He was pulling up some reports right now. He'll be back in just a second. Because he was just showing, as we were watching the video, he was just showing me some latest results. So he'll be back in just a moment to share some of that.
Nice.
Oh, great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it just keeps stepping up, and with the help with Amy, that amazing video, and the help, and so thankful to Kayla and her, doing this on her property, and then seeing the results and just everything that is going, and in each step of the way, it just becomes more and more exciting, more invigorating, so much power and strength in being able to do something that is you can do, but so quickly and solve the two issues at one time, and having some place for that waste to go, but then quickly transform that. And with all the other stuff, being able to spray that on those composts, like you proved out, Leighton, it's just, I don't know how anybody can't be excited. Even somebody who's not into soil, like this is so cool. We'll go to the store and we got to buy this fertilizer and throw it on there. It's like, no, we'll get this little bottle and put it on there, and we're going to get some pretty amazing results there. So, I just can't even contain myself. So really appreciate everything you guys put into that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, incredible work, Amy.
Yeah, awesome. I wanted to give you guys all an update. So I went back after that heavy rain that we had about a month ago to Kayla's site to just see if there was any erosion on the bare soil. All the way up there, everywhere that was, a steep bank, there was erosion. And when I got to Kayla's property, no erosion. And now it was aggregated. And not only could I stick my hand, up to my fingers and even wrist in the soil, I was going all the way up to my elbow. So it has this property that, from a soil engineer's perspective, is undeniable. I mean, it's beyond even what my compost extract can do as far as creating these aggregates. And in the movie, Amy showed me playing with these big, huge aggregates. Those were formed by Muncher juice. Like, I did some experiments on how quickly just raw compost, not even compost, mulch, that had very little life or any in it. It had been left dehydrated or to sit out in the sun and become totally hydrophobic, which means that when I spray water on it, it just runs off. It doesn't stick to it at all. And I used Muncher juice mixed with water, applied it to those two windrows, those two piles, and within a month, you saw basketball-sized friggin' aggregates. So it turned something that was hydrophobic into a hydrophilic and almost magnetic property to bond that together. And so the unlimited amount of uses this product has is what's really just like mind blowing.
It's phenomenal. Hey, Matt just got back. Matt, would you like to talk about the results that we're seeing now? There's the latest ones that you were showing us.
Sure. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
How's it going, Matt?
Hi. Doing well. We're seeing some really good results after the rain season's come through, and we've applied a second application. I was just sharing with Mo and the others that our nitrogen potassium levels down low are really going off the charts. We're about 10 times higher level than we were about a month previous to this. And so it's really cool to see those levels rise and the potassium levels start to match those levels too, even at 8 inches deep, which is, obviously at your topsoil and your most activity is at that level. And even despite the cold weather coming through, we're still seeing the increase of of what's going on. So it's very beneficial in the field right now. Doing a lot of tests and just seeing what our activity is, through the weather.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the stability of the readings that we're seeing now versus the past?
Yeah. So off these figures, these are been monitoring in this block for about 2 years now, and so far, like the amount of increase in being stable at the upper levels, like we're saying right now, we're about at 1,200, which obviously you got to convert to parts per million, but yeah, they're incredible. Never seen anything stabilize that much all the years. I mean, applying nitrogen, any other materials, just haven't got that type of response. And so the last 11 days have been incredible. I'm just watching this climb, and I don't know how far it will go, but so far being able to see that not just go up and drop within a matter of a few days, which is typical for like a nitrogen release. We're watching this climb and really stabilizing at the upper level. So this is exciting to me because I've been watching this for quite a few years. And so, yeah, it's good. Everything is working the way it should. And, we'll see how the nitrogen potassium levels match each other. That's going to get very interesting. Yeah. No, it's going good. We just got to, look at how the weather goes through the winter. And the incredible part about this to me is typically when it gets colder, things slow down. But what I'm seeing is a good acceleration. So that's really important for me to watch for the next 6 months. So go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, this is a fascinating thing to think about because you have the notion that, soil isn't just a matrix. It isn't just a substrate that you're putting plants into. That's been a lot of the convention. When soil, right, what we call dirt, sand, silt, or clay, that's one part of it, right? It's the organic matter and the biology. So when you restore soil function and graduate it from the conventional model of being just a matrix or a substrate where you're expecting these up and down levels, once you restore the biology and the function, that community is going to shift and work through and even mobilize a lot of the nutrients that have been, tied up or fully mineralized were, over previous years of application. So the fact is this thing is alive and dynamic, especially as the ambient temperature above ground is dropping.
Yeah. Well, and just to let you guys know, this field has not had any application of a standard application of nitrogen or any synthetic this year. What we're seeing becoming available is what's actually in the soil itself and seeing that conversion happen. And that's what's incredible about it because we haven't added things to this. We're just letting material do its work.
And
so
what kind of plant reactions are you seeing now?
Plant reaction right now, obviously things are going more towards a dormant stage. But the growth of the actual stumps still to stay increase. So we're seeing those expanding still. We're going into obviously a dormant stage here really quickly. And so as the weather's changed and gotten cold, the leaves are dropping. But it's going to get very interesting as we go through the dormancy period, see what those new leaves look like. But I do notice at this point that we see a lot of new buds pushing upon the trees, which is saying we've got a lot of energy, and those fruiting buds are number one. In pistachio trees, yes. Yeah, this field we're talking about. So yeah, looking at the fruiting buds, that's important because that's what makes the money. So we want to make sure the tree can support those and see how it goes. When they wake back up, it's going to be interesting. We'll take some more sap analysis, see how absorption has gone through the process. But everything's looking very, very beneficial at this point. We just got to see with this uphill climb, what's going to happen.
Yeah, spring will be really interesting to see how early those flowers and leaves come out. My gut feeling is it's probably going to be earlier than a lot of other people.
Well, and the big factor is in pistachios, this is historical, is they have alternate bearing. And why are they alternate bearing? Does it have to do with the soil, the weather, the chilling factors? What are we dealing with? And really looking for farmers that you can be able to utilize, let's say, increase even 10% uniformity over the fields. That would be incredible. So just trying to see if we can balance nutrients within the tree to be able to get higher production over a long period of time. Like I said, it's not about hitting all the peaks. The valley is about trying to find that balance that the trees need, and we can make a uniform crop every year. I mean, that's really the goal for the farmers out there. And, getting that stabilizing point it's been difficult for a lot of people. So, that's why I'm involved, and that's why I'm, doing what I do every day, because I love what I do, but truly making a difference and seeing those factors actually come to life. That's where it needs to happen.
Nice. Well, we would love to have you come back on in spring, Mo and Matt, and maybe walk us through the field so that we can see what's happening, or the audience can see what's happening, and give us an update on how the plants are doing compared to the other typically grown NPK fields. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I was telling Amy a little while ago that, we need to get ready to start doing chapter 2.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a lot of other fields we're going to go to. So we started pistachio. We're going to have citrus, vineyard, blueberry. We're going to be doing some stuff in pomegranates, almonds. There's going to be stone fruit. So there's going to be a wide variety of new things coming to the table. A
little teaser I'll put out there too, that we're doing some more things with the news outside of just promoting the plant growth, and that'll be coming up in soon as well. That stuff is in research and trial mode at the moment, but that'll be coming up. So I'm going to just leave that as a little teaser, and we'll fill that later.
Nice.
When I was there, you guys were talking about dairy waste as well. Is that still on the table?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, actually this week we're going to be going out and visiting some sites. The dairy waste out there, and even what's running through the water lines, there's a lot of issues, but this high nitrate is a big issue, and that's where it really needs to be captured, and see if we can disrupt that to be able to lower those levels down so they're not abrasive on the plants, and help not get that concentration of nitrogen down into the water table. That's also a big factor that's getting played.
And that's actually a regulation, but they're not allowed to release it above a certain level, right?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more of an issue. And so, working on the dairy side, working on the crops, it's a combination, because all the dairymen have their own fields, almonds and pistachios also. So it really goes together very well to be able to help a well-rounded base of their business. And so it's going to get very exciting. There's going to be, this is just a sneak peek, I feel, what we can actually do.
Agreed. And something else you should consider is that you spray the Muncher juice on whatever they're feeding the cows, because we've seen increase in animal health, from their coats, in horses specifically, in their coats, in their disposition, and in the fact that they don't get thrush as much as they used to, just by feeding them the hay that was treated biologically. So that might be something else you can convince them to, hey, give us 5 acres and let's try to increase the nutrition in your feed for your animals.
Yeah, and they are interested in that, because they know with those high nitrates or whatever they're putting that water back into the fields are affecting the crops. And then obviously it's a full circle of food for the animals themselves. And I agree with you. I mean, see what we can do in and outside of the foundation of the dairy, and it's important to see and study those things. We got to prove them accordingly, obviously. But there's a lot of places we can help. We've got about 5 projects right now on the board as we speak.
Nice. And Mo, to think that you started this for the very thing that we're talking about, what it's going to do, is congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a long journey, and but connecting to the people that we have that we're working with now, part of it. I was speaking to our gentleman Clyde, who's here with us today as well. That part of the thing that is taking this to the next level is right now just being able to work here with Matt, where we've been exploring the science for so long. We've been developing the juice for so long, but now we're also going into a practical application and how to use it. And Matt has so many years of experience in that aspect from building his own compost tea and all these things that he's been doing. But one of the first things that he started looking at when we started doing this up at the facility here was like, okay, we need to filter it like this. We need to, scale it up to run this way. We need to, and I could go on and on. There's so many things that he's helped improve in the process itself. Again, just based on the years of experience he has actually working in, farming and agriculture and in packing facilities and this stuff. So he has brought a whole wealth of information that we didn't have on that side. So this is I want to share. I want to give him the points on that. This has just been such a great synergy that we've had. And I can say that in a number of ways as we were developing. Like with Craig and Leighton. You two guys with your additional help with all the understanding of the science and everything. That was a critical step. Like when we met out at Peach Hill and so on. And then this now coming together with Matt here is another step. And we are coming full circle now and really, really in position to bring this into a fantastic, realm. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Matt, can't appreciate you enough for, taking this on, because when you and I first talked, we talked about the struggles of convincing farmers that this is a better way. It's more sustainable for the planet. It's going to increase your yields, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to learn anything new. So you were the breakthrough that ESS desperately needed to, because of your community, because you've been doing this long enough or so long, that you have respect from that community. Whereas, I have none. Like when I talk to farmers, they basically run me off the property with a shotgun saying I'm insane.
Well, and you gotta develop a product that is not only doing what it's doing now, but it's been able to be implemented in the field as application. So having it, like Mo saying, having it broken down and filtered properly so that you can put it through the fertigation system easily. You got to have something that's beneficial, but it's also got to be universal for them to be able to apply it. And so putting it through the fertigation really opens up the doors to where, you can run through dual line drip, your sprinkler. You can do flood if that's the way you're still doing it. But you can do all those applications. And so that was really important for me in the beginning. I mean, I kind of probably drilled Mo quite a bit about, I said, that the material's a little heavier, it's not going to be acceptable. We need to work on this. And we did, and we've worked through those scenarios together, and but the process is working well now, and what we're producing on a daily is a pure product. You can run through a fine mesh of a paint screen or whatever you can think of, and there's no buildup. It's completely pure at this point. So that was part of my work in the beginning, to try to get it to, adaptable for the farmers. Because then you can go out and, talk to them, say, hey, we have these products. We can put it through your fertigation. We won't clog your irrigation. We don't want to cause problems. We want to give them solutions. And so that's really where my experience from my past was, where I mixed with Mo, and we really became a good team. And we understand each other, and we're
trying to make things better every single day, anything we can possibly do. And, you know, designing bigger systems, helping more people, that will be in the future. You know, that's right now is a starting point for us, really. You know, this last 6 months have been just an uphill climb for that. So, you know, it's good. It's a good balance between us two to be able to make it work.
Awesome, man. That's so great to
Excellent.
hear. Yeah, I've probably pissed off every member of the ES team at least 2 or 3 times. So you know you're doing your job right, because you got to kind of rub elbows a couple times to really, you know, dig in your heels and get shit done. So thank you for sticking with it, and Mo, thank you for sticking with it all these years.
Can I just add something to that? I mean, obviously, when telling people's stories, there's so much more than you can include in a 25-minute film. Just to give you some of Matt's backstory, you know, he was a blueberry farmer first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you got to crunch point where you were like, the math isn't working, and I'm just going to have to take a leap here, and you pulled your crop, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and then you were like, well, what next? And you looked into pistachios, and like, this is a gamble, and it's 5 years, is it, or 3 years?
This will be 5th leaf as January. Yeah.
So to take a chance with the Muncher juice at this stage, with your first crop of pistachios, was a big leap of faith.
It was. I mean, when we first met, I decided to go to one of my, you know, premium fields and just go ahead and apply and see what we can, you know, figure out. And that big plunge, like you're saying, Amy, was, you know, make a decision to not run any fertilizer for a season, just to see those variables. And again, that's going totally against the grain of anybody in this industry. And you know what? The samples and everything I pulled from the ranch doesn't show any deficiencies, which tells me there's a lot more room for growth, and there's a lot more available in our water and our soil that's there. We just need to, you know, unlock it.
Yeah. And there's so much more, you know, that can be said about that. And I'm sure, you know, Craig and probably have some ways to explain in great detail how these nutrients become unlocked and all kinds of amazing things. But again, fundamentally, you know, I got to put that out there again. You know, we came here and started producing the juice, running the machine here on site. You know, Matt was watching this happen, and believed in what we were doing, and took a chance on his personal ranch there that, hey, this is going to be some good stuff, and I'm going to try it.
Yeah. We're doing six of my ranches now.
Yep.
And other customers, obviously, at this point, and we're, you know, we're dedicated at this point because we've seen the positive results, and we're going to continue that and see the balance. And the factors are, you know, we're not saying don't do other things that farmers are doing. We're just saying incorporate, you know, a new foundation, and there's a lot of good things that you have present in your field. So if you can capture that and use that to your advantage, why not? That's the way I look at it. And slowly lean off, you know, the program you're on, not say stop it, but just work together to figure out the right balanced solution. Because typically in farms, if you go in there and tell somebody to turn the spigot off, they're going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. that's not going to happen. Right. But, you know, the approach is you're working together to create a better solution on the farm overall. And that's the direction we're going at. And obviously you need to know what you have when you begin. Do some sampling, look at leaf analysis, look what you have. Obviously, definitely look at your water, which a lot of people don't, and actually in the community, and it's important to me. And to see what you have to start with. That way you can create the story behind your farm of here's where I began, and here's where I am now, and here's where we want to go. And so it just really, it's a challenge, but I'm willing to accept that challenge. And, you know, a lot of people are starting to turn that direction to not only save costs, but to be able to do a better job
on their farm. It's what's been going on in the valley or surround this is just not working well. And how can we help? And that's really what I look at. I tell Mo, I drive down the road, or anybody that goes with me, and the question is, do those fields look healthy or do they look sick? And it's always cool to see another opinion of somebody that's not around it every day.
It's shocking thing for me. Like, this is my mother's hometown. I've been coming out here for over 50 years. So I remember seeing things, and when Matt started driving me around, I hadn't cruised around as much, seeing all the different, the bees in the field and everything. And he was like, "Does this look right to you?" And I was like, "I don't know. It really doesn't. I don't remember it looking like this when I was younger." And so one of the things that we're really looking forward to doing here is healing the valley. And I think this is a way we can do it.
Yeah. I mean, even through a ride that was with Gary or Mo, I was like, well, how many fields since the last city till we got back to shop do you feel are healthy? They're like, I don't know, quite a few. I said 2. And they said 2. I said, well, there's only about 2 I saw that are really healthy. I saw a lot of other ones that needed help. And once you get an eye for it, you can see it, right?
Yeah. I remember when number of field so I checked Matt's fields. These are ones now that have been getting Muncher juice and whatnot. And the fields that are getting that treatment, the bricks analysis was between 20 and 23 when I was checking the leaves. And the regular ranches that have been just, treated with conventional methods. And I checked a variety of some newer, some older growth. Between 12 and 14 was their bricks analysis.
And just to be clear, the gentleman that sold Mo the bricks tester has never seen anything higher than 18.
Right.
So that is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and we were up to 23.
Yep, and I bet as you continue to treat, that's going to increase. And Mo, make sure both you and Matt talk really loud because you kind of get muffled out sometimes. And I want to be able to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be doing more tests, brick tests, sap analysis, and soil and water. And Leighton, I'm sure you'll be coming back out to look at the activity of the roots and what's going on in the berms of the last sites we looked at.
It's really interesting things going on there.
Yeah. So, so basically, I feel we're in a good place right now. We're just trying to gear up over winter to be able to produce more. But the good thing is, like I'm seeing, just because it's getting cooler doesn't mean you can't apply. And that's a typical thing for most people is they have, pre and post harvest applications. Well, it's actually most important to get the material down ahead of time, like we're doing, and getting to break down and getting it active than just waiting until we get 90-degree weather. You don't need to do that. So that's the beauty of what we're working on is, you can apply this throughout the season. As long as it's not freezing or raining, we're in the fields. And so that's the way I'm managing it right now. And we'll see how those variables work.
So Matt, just so you know, I have a significant experience in applying biologicals on both snow and ice and seeing the results in the spring that were not present before I applied it. You literally can do it all year round if so desired. And I love your concept of stacking it for the spring. So when the spring hits, you're not scrambling. Everything is already there.
It's already available. And that was the first thing I looked at when I saw these increases and these levels start to rise and start to level out and some increasing still. I was like, well, does it have to do with the weather? Has it to do with the rain? Does it anything to do with the temperature in the soil? Because we monitor all those variables. And really, like you're saying, Leighton, the cooler weather doesn't seem to be a factor. Actually, may be more beneficial in some ways to get it on while it's cool. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of things to look at. Going to be monitoring around 15 blocks right now, looking to grow that significantly, in probably the next few months. I'm hoping we can get, up to 30 to 40 blocks of monitoring, and then start growing it from there. And so it's going to be good. I've been gearing up for this for a while. We're all set out to also do some remote testing. So I have setups on tripods that I can take mobilely out to blocks and be able to just, analyze them as we're doing applications before and afters live. So I'm going to be doing both, not only stationary units, but mobile too. And so we're set up to do that now. And Jeff's going to be doing that, and helping Mo and I in the field. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of good data by the end of the season of this next year.
Yeah, 2026. Sorry, Mo, speak up a little.
There are just a lot of things happening right now. I mean, it's so much. It's hard. It's difficult to manage it all. But we've got some amazing stuff going on.
Well, you guys got to come back on in a few months and update us on all these things that you're doing, and keep us abreast of the results that you're seeing, because this is very exciting, because this is real now. This is real, and I'd also like to take the time to have Craig speak for a couple of minutes on the wonderful work we're doing down at Los Alamos Labs. When I met Craig 5 years ago, he was a little green, a little wet behind the ears, so to say, and he's now leading the ESS science team as the private investigator for Llano. So that's a huge step up from where you were just 5 years ago, brother. So why don't you go ahead and update us all on what's going on down there?
Yeah, definitely. So as Leighton mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, I came on 2.5 years ago to kind of better understand all the mechanisms that are kind of happening in place with the Muncher juice, why it works so effectively. And thinking about, okay, well, how can we look at plant response? How can we look at what microbes are underneath under the microscope down in the soil? What molecules are there? What nutrients? Even further, potentially, what DNA is there for those microbes? So really, the thought was like, okay, how can we take all these empirical tools or means of measurement and observation and kind of weave them together? So we started doing some DNA testing, soil microscopy, especially when we were working down in Aggerman with Dave Camarillo, kind of getting a sense of what we were seeing in the different levels of nutrient availability, carbon nitrogen ratio, and even to the reduction of potentially hazardous coliform bacteria when we applied the product and put it onto a matrix. But what's been really exciting is that this year we just started a collaboration with Los Alamos National Laboratory. It's the Feynman Center for Innovation. So working out of the biosciences division. So what we're doing right now is we're really expanding some initial growth trials we started, kind of smaller scale, and also to the years and years of anecdotes and experience that Mo has when applying at different plants and noticing this robust growth. So we actually have greenhouse trials underway, and we actually just got a grant to extend these greenhouse trials into field trials, and also expanding greenhouse trials as well down in New Mexico. So not just in the greenhouse, which we can get some good control over the experiments and understand what we're seeing, what's qualitative, what's quantitative, but also replicating those and expanding to working with farmers and ranchers in New Mexico. So this is really awesome, because my notion is when I'm going into building the experimental design for next year, talking with Mo and Matt and saying, okay, what are you guys seeing out there, right? Very similar soils in the Southwest, especially with the mineral content, how organic matter responds to it. So this is really thrilling and exciting, where, we've done a lot of the internal science, from my experience, from Leighton's experience, practitioner, from all the anecdotes, and it's really weaving and synergizing together. Now we're really starting to understand some of the hows behind it, which, that just leads to more questions, but having some staff scientists at a national laboratory working with that are understanding the mechanisms in microbial plant interaction, how soil organic matter forms, how to improve soils. Like, these are people that, when we started working with them and started talking with them, they were like, yeah, we want to publish. This is really exciting. And they mentioned that a lot of the projects they do in kind of this tech transfer aspect, they're not too interested. So really a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipe and understanding the mechanism. So it's feeling exciting that all these functions are stacking and starting to be vertically integrated. And we can then communicate what we're seeing in different parts of these projects and aspects to kind of bring this all together and say, okay, we're making sense of this biological phenomena through these very potent biofertilizers, the indicative of the Muncher juice and its products. Yeah, so it's really thrilling.
Yeah, and the other thing that you didn't mention was we are the first ever company to work with Los Alamos where we are interdisciplinary. We have 6 top scientists in 6 different fields. Go ahead, Craig. Expand on what an
honor. So a lot of kind of what they see in functionality is that, not just as kind of increasing soil microbe as an inoculum, right? You could restore the soil tilth, improve water retention, right? We've even Mo and Matt can speak upon some of the properties where we can potentially destroy corrosion or buildup in irrigation lines, right? Because this is a living thing, right? There's all these components. So, really a lot of the foundational implications, even some open calls for research. We've connected with the scientists looking into biobenefaction for potentially mining sites. Even using these complex enzymes that are in the Muncher juice as inoculum to precipitate some of these heavy metals and extract them, but also recycle them. So these are really interesting aspects where we're moving towards a biological future and all the different, viewing this technology and viewing this biological product as a touchstone that can tap into all these different areas and sections. So it's a lot. So trying to map it out and understand the roadmap one bit at a time, but the kind of acceleration we've seen in the past year, thinking to where, I was out there last September, got to meet Mo in person, got to go up to Carson City, meet Dan, Gary, Ron, and then also kind of do this data aspect and where we're coming from the year. It's been really thrilling and exciting. So I think kind of making sense of this incredible phenomena that, that we've all understood as a goal. And then Mo has been seeing kind of gradually emerge, but at his time, just with this intention and goal to drive this life's work, is about meeting the people and the team to provide the vocabulary and providing the technology to kind of put this tapestry of explain this incredible technology. Yeah.
And why don't you touch on our Primus work that we did with a major berry grower?
Yeah. So let's see here. No, I believe this was back in 2023. We did a trial with one of the biggest producers, I think, of berries in North America, at least in the Northwest or the West Coast in general. And they were dealing with their plan to transition from conventional to organic, right? Organic makes more money. People want it. There's market demand for it. But, to go from all these plots that have been chemically treated, right? It's not an easy transition. I think most transitions are anywhere from 2 to 5 years, depending upon the circumstances. So they had a robust integrated pest management, all these things that you go do it, but still at the end of the day, you had to make an economic decision to saying, okay, we're going to spray these things or not, right? So they gave us all their plant material from berries and root balls and all this plant biomass that they were paying near a king's ransom to haul off because it exceeded the levels of acceptable background for these pesticides, right? If it's over that threshold, it gets considered as a hazardous waste transport, disposal, incineration. So having a biobenefaction or a bioremediation approach was incredibly attractive. So, we worked with this grower. They had a laboratory where they kind of looked at background organic pesticide residue. So all the residues for all these different compounds. And I believe they did a panel, which is pretty standard for, the Association of Organic Analytical Chemists, AOAC, where it was over 340 different compounds. And when we tested, and then even the 5 classes of those, all of them came back as non-detect or below lowest detection limit. And this was a farm that had legacy use and really, we were like, okay, was that a signal or noise? But with further conversations, I kind of spoke to some of the potential, and we're excited to take these anecdotes that we've done through a commercial laboratory and integrate them in some of the work we're doing with the National Laboratory at Los Alamos.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. And, you know, as amazing as that is, you know, Mo, you talked about the brick analysis, and maybe there's some folks here that may not know, but what is the significance of those numbers?
Well, the numbers themselves are, they give you an idea of the health of the plants, for one. You know, I was actually introduced to that by Leighton. He said, you know, we need to start doing these tests and see how healthy the plants actually are. So as you go through the different stages of numbers in the analysis, and it's different for different plants, of course, but excuse me, when as you get higher and higher, your plants are becoming more and more healthy, more pest resistant, more disease resistant, and these things. So this has been lacking for years because the plants have been so unhealthy, and they're just getting pumped up with all these you know, products that although they make them grow, but the plants themselves are actually not healthy, and so you have to use all these additional agents to try to keep them growing, and we just kind of go in this downward spiral with that. Whereas as we are now making them healthy, these numbers are showing that they are healthier and healthier. And you know, like for example, you know, Matt, how many times, how much pesticide or anything have you had to apply?
Yeah, we haven't applied any for control, so that's a big deal. And most people are like, you have to apply at least 1 to 3 times per season. Well, if you don't see an issue, then you don't apply, you know, and that's the way I look at it. We don't just put out, you know, product just because you feel like you need to do it. And second off, it's really expensive to do. But once you disrupt that, and that's going to we're probably back to about 15 years ago, I realized when I started incorporating biology into the soil, I was having less and less issues. And you know, berries, you're talking about berries. I mean, I grew blackberry, boysenberries, blueberries, all those things for many years, for about 24 years. And, you know, really look at those factors. Once you have a healthy soil, you just don't have that bug suppression issues. You see some bugs out there, but you know, they're good bugs. Everybody perceives to see, you know, bugs out in the field. Well, there's good and bad bugs. And once you start to disrupt that, you're in a cycle, like you're saying. It's going to take 3 to 5 years to try to clean it up. And typically with biology, you can clean it up fairly quickly. And that's kind of how I fell into this whole deal, was because blocks are failing, because things were, you know, didn't matter the cost of materials spent. And we shipped in stuff from Texas that were $15,000 a tote. All this special material trying to help with red berry mite and all these other issues. It didn't work well. It actually suppressed the plants. And that kind of started my journey in those blocks. But turning that soil around was key. You know, and so, I mean, really look at the bricks, like you're saying. You know, bricks can do a lot of things in the field, not just a healthier plant, but looking at your fruit flavor, you know, your shelf life, you know, having that viewing of, you know, your food safety, you know, staying within your parameters of, you know, compliance, because that's, you know, I did part of that in my past too, of being in the food safety side, understand that. And your MRL levels just cannot be above board. So the more you start really inoculating the soil and incorporating good things, you're just going to be in a better place in the farm overall. Like I said, it just, you know, it works. It worked for me. I've seen it work for a lot of other people that I've done work for. And, you know, that's why I was, you know, willing to take the plunge with everybody. You know, it started by calling a meeting and eating some tacos. You know, that's how this whole thing started. I mean, I didn't even know who these guys were. And, you know, a friend, Larry, came along and said, you know, we should meet. And so I said, well, I'll call the meeting and let's meet. And let's see if we can help each other out. And, you know, right away, I could tell we had a good group. You know, to do this, you got to have, you know, a large group to help each other. You cannot combat this by yourself. I mean, it's just too complex. There's too many things going on.
And once we met, I said, well, shoot, we can really build a team. And that's what we're doing. Internally, we're really building a team up, and everybody's getting involved. Just going to help each other in all angles, because that's what it has to be done to break that barrier. And like I said, you're not trying to go into fields and try to point your finger at being Mr. Right. You're just saying we have some good solutions that can help. And farmers do need help out there. They truly do. This is my legacy building towards is the future of farming, in California, and food for our kids and everybody else around the world. I mean, this is one of the most important things to me. And so, yeah, those bricks can do a lot, though. Most just giving you a little glimpse of it, but there's a lot of good things that come from that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that. Like you said, teamwork. We got Leighton breaking eggs, rubbing elbows, asking the tough questions, pushing some of the issues. We got Craig leading and driving with the highest scientists, some of the greatest guys in the country, working through to test this stuff. And then Mo and Matt, who are on the ground level, really showing and proving how this works. And Amy is documenting it and making it come to life for people to see. And I'm just so pleased and excited. So thank you all so very much for all of that and everything that you're doing. And I really appreciate the follow-up on that. So thank you.
Yeah. And you know what? Got to give a little bit of credit where credit's due. It's all Ken's fault.
What? Who, me?
Yeah, little you caused all of the problem. So Ken was the guy that called me and said, "You ever heard of this company?" And they're talking about aerobic digestion. I'm like, "Can't be done. Can't be done." And he's like, "No, seriously, like, you got to check them out." So I rang up Gary, who was the one that reached out to Ken, and I tried to poke holes in him, and I couldn't. Then I called Mo and tried to poke holes in him, and I couldn't. And I'm like, all right, well, when can I see this? They dragged that unit all the way down to Peach Hill just to demo it for me. And that was the beginning of all of this. And it's been an incredible journey for the last 3 years of just mind-blowing experiences. It's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenon after phenomenon.
One after another.
Yeah. Literally.
It's all about the biology, guys.
And I think one thing to mention here, just kind of watching the chat and seeing what people are saying and asking, and I think Leighton could attest to this quite well, is just the way that this works and at the speed that it works. It's proving to be quite economical. And so, yes, this is going to go to the world. We're setting up the channels for it to get it out there, and it's not going to be crazy expensive. In fact, some of the models that I've run, I don't think I'll throw any numbers right now, but it will save farmers significant money every single year, significant. So I'll leave it at that for now, but most certainly, absolutely, this will be growing and going. We're learning what the bacteria is, what it's doing. Craig's really heading that up and doing a fantastic job. So really appreciate all the questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Amy, once again, thank you so much for taking this project on. I know I've been talking for years, and you went above and beyond. Your effort was incredible. The amount of time and energy you put into this, it really shows through, Amy. It really is a beautiful piece. And every time I watch it, I'm like motivated. I got to work hard.
I know. I hope that this film, it does what it was designed to do, which is just spark conversation and open doors for the Ecosphere team, and really highlight what you guys are doing, and just bring attention to it, so you have all the resources you need to make it happen. Because it could really make some really significant changes that benefit not just us, but here in California, but mankind as a whole. So thank you all. And just to mention that I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel on Friday, People of the Plants.
Okay.
So if anyone wants, to share the link and start spreading the word, then it'll be there.
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah. Can't thank you enough, Amy. And typically in another 11 minutes, we'll open the floor to questions. So I might as well go ahead and do that now, because sometimes that leads to further, deeper conversations. So if you don't mind, Ken, let's roll out the questions and see where they go.
Sure. Question from Dirt Right. Winter is here. We have windrows of compost that we are working on getting bagged and stored. How do you feel winter will affect air piles?
Well, if the piles are still warm, they're going to keep working all winter long. If you bag them, then they'll shut down. So my personal suggestion would be leave them in windrows till spring, and then when you're ready to ship them out or sell them to people, then bag them, because the fresher the better. And or buy some Moe's Muncher juice and put it on it.
Coming soon.
That's my question is, how long are we looking for it to roll out, Mo?
We are working on that right now, and it's going to be early next year.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll be back on, guys, when they're ready to actually pull the trigger and really launch. We're definitely going to have a launch party on this podcast.
Yeah, what we're going through right now is, just the legalese, some certification things that have to be done, and as soon as that stuff is complete, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you going to be able to ship globally or just in the U.S.?
It's going to depend. You're up in Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we between the U.S. and Canada, we should be able to, because everything that we do is, I know the microbes, everything is Canada compliant, so we should be able to. But different regions have different regulations, so that is going to have to kind of be on a case by case basis.
Yep.
Mo, why don't you talk real quick about Mexico? What you're doing down there?
Oh yeah, well we're Gustavo, our partner down there, is working on a project with a farm and group down in the Quesquiapan, and we're going to be doing a grow test out there on their facility. We're going to be processing material from the crops that they grow into juice, and it's the various vegetables and produce that they make. And we're going to be then putting that back out on their land and growing crops with it. So that's all being set up right now. And then we're going to be doing it on a hectare, which is 2 acres of land out there. Going to grow the crops with the juice that they generate. And from there, they would like to expand it to run on their facilities and then open up, selling more juice down there as well.
Cool.
So that's going to begin that project begins in February.
And
Okay.
I'm sure there's going to be other opportunities for, like Canada, if they wanted to buy a smaller machine and open up a branch up there, because, might be a little difficult to ship the liquid over through customs,
Right.
Not the equipment. So, again, as they grow, I'm sure they're going to be rolling out to different countries, starting with Canada. They're already in Mexico. And that's the key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will have multiple sizes available.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going through engineering now to make different sizes, but we may have 3 by the end of the year, depending on what you need.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, I think that's one of the big things is getting the equipment to these different countries so that there's, a lower cost of shipping. We're trying to have a lower carbon footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and also the reality, shipping the juice around the world from here is not really practical. We need to, as much as possible, be able to manufacture it locally.
Yeah, I can speak to that too, because when we think about, the entire fertilizer market, right? Let's think about everything from a chemical fertilizer, even organic fertilizer, right? Every single step, whether it was to bring a material in, to process it, right? That costs energy, right? It's the scope. You think about all 3 scopes, right? From the sourcing to the manufacturer, and then ultimately getting to the end user in general. With our notion is that, we are having these systems here, and you think about the energy and water that the muncher utilizes to process it. It's the most effective way to do it. and then basically having a model where we can have hubs, or you think about how there's a cooperative with a grain elevator, right? At all these different scales. So the aspect too is, we were in Vegas earlier this year in May, and we had a huge amount of interest in international aspects, right? And people were thrilled to learn about the output. And also too, we can do the processing on the front end, dealing with these different materials, but also too, finding ways where we could expand that market, right? We've already started doing that in Mexico, but there's a lot of significant interest, but obviously getting those systems. But I'm sure if someone wants to get some product and experiment, which is where a lot of these anecdotes started, I'm sure we can figure that out as well.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And we're kind of setting the foundation here in California right now, and expansion inside of another building. So there'll be a lot of new things coming out, for sizes and just making things more people friendly to operate, because the cost, you got to keep it within radius. I tell everybody, I said, you got to keep it within 25 to 50 mile radius max, because your costs, your trucking, your materials, and if you can have it on site on the farm itself, that's the best case scenario you could possibly have. And so you'll be able to do those things, absolutely, and making these machines available so you can haul them on a standard load, no longer having to worry about wide loads or anything. So you could have mobile units, you could have stationary units. You choose what fits the mold for yourself. And so that's primarily I'm working on with Mo too. It's in and outside the field, right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to even, it spins in my head all the time. There's so much happening right now. So many different things we're working on. It's an adventure.
That's what you got the team.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, let's go to the next question here.
Yes.
Are you using AI to recognize the bacteria in a sample now that you know what's fixing or what fixes the soil? What's the path to making the system more widespread or even the default way people grow crops?
Greg, why don't you take that question? You're our bioinformatics guy.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of the day, a lot of the algorithms that are used to, take this DNA sequencing and process it, it's already a part of like deep learning or machine learning, right? Now the AI application, it can help you kind of look at relationships or do summation of research that are out there. So definitely when it comes to, for example, we're working with Los Alamos National Laboratory. So we have a whole team of people that have experience understanding what profiles of microbes are there and what the functional plant growth promotion or what kind of nutrients can be more available or more soluble as well. So at the end of the day, kind of these ideas, as we look at all these different ways of looking at improvement, like looking at the physical plant, measuring the bricks, looking at the microbes, those kind of different tiers and stages that I talked about earlier, we can kind of look at the relationships and get an inference of kind of a higher structure or a higher realization by using AI. Mind you, it's understanding it using all the different tools and subsets are there because it really good at looking at patterns. A little more complicated than just typing to your large language model, right? But thankfully, a lot of it definitely helps with a lot of the actual programming and coding, which can be pretty labor intensive. And some of the stuff we're excited doing now at Lannel is, we've had our own pipelines that I've used and tools that are in the community to understand what bacteria or what fungi are there when we get a DNA file back from the sequencing vendor. What's exciting is collaborating with these scientists at Los Alamos and saying, okay, what reagents are you using, what primers, looking at specific groups of this bacteria, fungi, and also what software packages for bioinformatics, that's the fancy word for saying using a computer makes sense of all that DNA data, what packages are used in your pipeline. So we can do comparatively, one-to-one, right? The biggest thing in general is that, especially with DNA data, if your methodology varies a bit, you'll get kind of difference noise. Heck, even running the software in a different environment can do those aberrations. So it's exciting to have the opportunity to work with these world-class scientists at Los Alamos to make what we're seeing more robust and also say, hey, like, you seeing this? Okay, we're looking at all the different layers of inference and measurement and qualitative and quantitative to really kind of talk about this phenomena. So, but yeah, we stand out in those different aspects, benefits, because we have all these key components in biology. We, have the microorganisms. We have the biofilm, these extracellular polymeric substances. We even have byproducts from these reactions happening inside the system, plant growth promoters, hormones, auxins, right? And what's exciting working with Los Alamos is they actually can get into the next level after DNA, which is metabolomics, right? So oftentimes looking at the RNA, which is what genes or what parts of the genes of the genome or who microbes are there, and also how they're coming together in unison and how they affect these different things. So kind of building a metabolic map for these different profiles. And, some of the intuition that I have and understand is like, if we're feeding the muncher, let's say a certain type of fruit, right? Or let's say we're feeding it a certain type of vegetable or crop or grain, there's kind of a generally understood philosophy that oftentimes the best food for the plant is the plant itself. So if we can take these resources and view the muncher as an accelerated composting process, might be one way to think about it. And where did composting come from? Well, it was because people observed that organic matter fell on the ground and over the season broke down. And someone said, what if we could speed this up? So you scoop the organic matter together, you get the right moisture hydration, and it warms up like a body. It has a metabolism. We've taken those principles that were imported from India by the British, that we built our composting industry. And what Mo has realized, looking at these different aspects, is we can kind of take this composting, this decomposition process to the next level while maintaining all these good components. Anaerobic digestion is an incredible technology, but you really have to dial in the consortia that are there and then also control what feedstocks are there. People talk about getting biogas, and you can get it, but on large scale municipal systems, it's really hard to teeter it in. You'll get excess proteins that will shift things to make ammonia instead. So it's really exciting that we can do this aerobically and then have this rapid transformation while preserving the nutrients and the biology at the same time.
Yeah.
And just to add a little bit more to that is another aspect of Los Alamos is they can get into enzymes, which is like really deep. And that's going to probably help explain why this does what it does on all of these different levels. So yeah, it's 2026 is going to be a very exciting year for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think thank you for that. That was a great explanation. I think for the second part of that question, I think Matt would probably be the best one here to really speak to that. Like how would you make this the standard practice?
Well, there's lots of ways to look at that, but really looking at a farmer-friendly solution.
Speak louder.
You hear me better now?
Yeah.
Let me move up.
If you turn your laptop more toward the person that's speaking, the microphone is trying to switch around directions.
Okay. Yeah. So really looking at a farmer-friendly application using the technology we have, really looking at that because there's a lot of variables out there, but how do you distinguish what the numbers mean? And I feel that's where AI and all the technology coming forward is going to really narrow that down because you can be able to identify and be able to track that live in the field. Doing it as making material or doing it in the lab is also important, but actually having it live in the field for a reaction is also necessary. So you can put all three together as a package. Really, a well-rounded overview of what's going on and how to deal with it. So I don't know if there's really one permanent solution yet that's available, but forming those together is going to be, the future. That's really where we need to focus. The labs be able to distinguish what's going on, and us giving and retrieving the information needed to make those decisions. And so, data directly from the field live. So like right now as we're monitoring, we're picking up signals every 15 minutes. And so we're watching that, and then you get a daily figure on what you have as an overall. And you can look at that over, months and years goes on and be able to look how those layers of data are going to match up and then you can take, let's say, a reaction with nitrogen and potassium. You can link up with water. You can link up with temperature, and you can put all those configurations together to be able to distinguish, the positive or negative effects. And so, it's technology's it's evolving. It's just been a little slower on the farm application side. But I feel like the AI or any technology coming into play now is really going to speed things up. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of good things to come. It's just, it needs to be adapted and tested in the fields to really, confirm.
And if you look at the things that we're doing, in the fields right now, the sensors that are in place, there's nobody using this kind of stuff. This is brand new. And we're seeing data, we're able to make changes, we're able to adjust things, whether it's water usage or how much of any product should you put into the field. We're able to see in real time what should be done, and this is something that's helping us figure out how well the Muncher product is working. But then also, like the farmer watching this as they start incorporating these processes, will also be able to look and go, hey, my levels are good here. I can inject, let's say, less nitrogen. And or use less water. Yeah, exactly. And but it's unless they start using this technology and start making these analyses, you're not going to know that. And all you can do is say, well, we water, this many times, a day or per week for this interval, and that's how we've always done it. But unless you have this data, you can't make those adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big step. So as we're talking about everything from the sensors, the technology, AI analyses, everything, that's all going to play a huge part in taking it to the next level.
Yeah. It's having the combination of those things are going to be key. And so, we just got to keep working at it. I've looked at, I've worked with telemetry for over 10 years. Every sensor you can possibly think of in a soil profile that I've had on properties and tested. And, you got to see which ones work, which ones actually benefit you. And, there's not one perfect single sensor out there yet that's been created, but I do feel that it's coming. There's going to be ways to evaluate microbe activity, lots of things that we just don't have available yet. But it should be coming here. I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a breakthrough.
And that's
cool.
Some of the stuff that we're actually working on here is developing.
Turn it over.
We're also working on developing those systems. That's part of the project out here.
Okay, cool.
That's in your spare time, Mo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in my spare time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you're laying in bed, I try to tell guys, I said, really takes about 10 minutes of your day, and you could evaluate, 20 ranches, and to see what your parameters are, see how you're doing, because you need to be able to check in and see what's going on in the property physically and electronically. I feel the combination is needed. And so, that's going to be just a moving target really at this point, but being able to understand what the numbers mean. I keep bringing it up, but that's been the biggest factor of manufacturers of sensors and telemetries. My number one question whenever I got this is, well, what do the numbers mean? What do they translate to? Because that's really important for the farmers to understand and to be able to believe. And so things are becoming a lot more clear at this point. It's getting close to be able to understand that. Cool. So that's where I'm at right now. That's just a tiny little piece of it, but I will continue to tell you guys more as we travel through this.
Awesome. Looking forward to those updates.
So our next question is basically, how would you compare MJ to compost Like what makes MJ that much better than, just doing your own composting?
Leighton?
Under the bus I go. Well, that's the exciting part is that, in composting, you're taking organic matter, breaking it down, and ideally creating a biological inoculant or a dissolved organic matter. And this is something that Craig and I talk about a lot, is the power of dissolved organic matter. So with compost, you spread the compost on the top of the plant, around the base of the plant, and it oxidizes, and you lose a lot of it, blows away, dries up, turns hydrophobic, so it doesn't accept moisture anymore, and literally, gets cooked by the sun. So this is where compost extracts have become very popular over the last 10 years, because people realized, hey, if I take the compost and turn it into a liquid and pour it on the plant, more of the bacteria and biology are going to survive and penetrate down into the soil. So, Mo's version is a dissolved organic matter or a dissolved organic carbon. And that's another important piece that, we're figuring out, is that, the fruits by themselves are high in nitrogen, whereas another product Matt ran was super high in carbon. And the carbon one actually had more forms of nitrogen than the straight nitrogen did. And in the seed germination tests, we determined that the straight fruit was not as great as when we were using a higher carbon content at Agriman. At Agriman, we had 100% seed germination, 100% plant vigor. The most recent results down at Los Alamos showed that we were, what was it, like 60% germination, Craig? I don't remember the exact number. You're muted.
Yeah. Actually, this is kind of what we're doing, is we're kind of dialing in what strength and concentration. So in like the full strength, we had some germination issues, but in the more diluted, we had some consistent ones. So it really comes down to the factor, like, oftentimes when you think about your soil, right? Sand, silt, and clay. Sand, lowest cation exchange capacity. You have to apply organic matter. Clay has high. If you have organic matter, you go it up. You can actually, hypothetically, you could overdo the cation exchange capacity. You could carbon lock. So where there's so much of this dissolved organic matter or dissolved organic carbon that can hit the surface of the sand, silt, and clay, then tie up all the exchange sites, it can actually slow down plant growth a bit. Maybe even stress the plant out. But the following year, once, becomes soluble and that organic matter can rinse off, you get a boon in plant growth. So this is something we're getting into, is understanding how best to apply the Muncher juice, especially working with different details. Working with a plant that's already in a core, or kind of already has its own matrix and its own root ball. It's a lot easier to adapt and acclimate. Always working with seedlings, it's something where, right germination conditions and details are. So it's exciting that we're going through the procedure to making sense of this in the greenhouse environment, and also working with the insights we're learning from Matt, and that we'll be having from farmers New Mexico working with next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on, seed germination versus, let's say a 10-year-old pistachio tree, adaptation to ratio. So that's why we're tracking what we're tracking in the field too, to try to determine that. And so,
and basically my recent assignment is to get into formulation, which I can't wait to really dive into. I've scratched the surface on it, but I know that there's a lot more insights that we can provide future purchasers of munchers to better adapt to their specific plant crop. So that goes back to composting, playing around with C to N ratios. Dr. Elaine Ingham's foundational compost recipe is 66% browns, 33% greens. Well, I know we can push that around. You can use more greens, but you've got to be ready to turn it. You can't let it go above 131 degrees, too often, because you're losing diversity. So this method of what Mo does is in a mesophilic temperature range. So it's less, there's around 110, 90 to 110, somewhere in there. And then also the pH. I mean, this is this is another thing that Craig and I brainstormed on for months about when that machine calls for a infusion of calcium to lower the pH, or raise the pH, excuse me. What happens is a swing. So the pH was lower, and then it called for it, and it brought it up. So now you're strengthening, you're making these microbes have the super ability to deal with a pH swing that they wouldn't ordinarily be trained to do in a thermophilic compost pile. So it's like giving them armor, giving them a shield and a sword, so that when they go out into the field, they can survive in these different environments that typically they wouldn't be able to. I love to use the reference of, you take the rich kid out of his mansion and throw him in the ghetto, he ain't gonna last very long. But if you take the ghetto kid, you put him in a rich man's home with all of these resources, he's gonna kick some butt. So, that's what Mo's doing, is in Mo's process, he's getting these guys ready for any environment that they get tossed into. And so that's another piece of the puzzle, but then it gets into these secondary, tertiary metabolites. Those don't really happen that much in compost. There's some, but not a lot. And you definitely don't get those extra polymetric substances, which are the biofilms and the glues that bond the sand, silt, and clay together. So there's something very special about what Mo's process does that we're working on it, man. We're working on it, but we got a ways to go.
There's still some things to discover, but one of the things that I've talked about, and Leighton and Craig both will have maybe a couple things to say on this, is that you have to go through the transformative process of using the Muncher system to create this material, the Muncher juice. You could take the biological mixture that I've created, and you can mix it in water or whatever and put it onto the soil, and it's not going to do anything. It'll have little to no effect on your plants, your soil, whatever. Now, once you've gone through this transformative process through the Muncher system, and we've created, again, like we've been saying, like this amniotic fluid or liquid lichen type of thing that we've talked about. Now, those microbes and everything, you have all this beneficial biology going on, but unless you've gone through that process, you don't have that. So, I mean, if you guys would like to take that into a little deeper explanation.
Correct.
Well, would it be a lot like, adding, molasses into a compost extract to give them food?
Well, if you're adding molasses, you're stimulating one specific organism called bacteria. When the bacteria plumes out, you create the prey-predator scenario, where now all of a sudden the predators start dividing as fast as they can because there's so much abundance of food. Whereas, in his process, he is creating that environment without spiking in the molasses. I mean, he has to get the biobed up to a level, but once the machine is up and running, he can shut it off, technically not feed it. The machine still has to stay on, circulate, warm, pH, all of those things. But as soon as he starts feeding food in, that biobed starts to react again and comes right back. So the input is the accelerant. And that's, again, the amazing thing that this machine does that is still to be determined, or boldly going where no man has gone before to figure this shit out.
Oh yeah, and I'm bringing lots of food to the table.
That's right.
To say, that's the good thing about me is I have such a diversity of ability to get all these different food sources. So that's important. If you're doing a husk, if you're doing a fruit, a vegetable, what are we looking at? And you will get things that are higher strength than others. So you want to pick the best of the group. And so far we got two that we have
worked really well.
Yeah, that worked really well.
Yeah. And I always
The
organic material is a food source, but I do always say that whatever we feed the Muncher, you're going to get a quality output, but you're you're going to vary on your nutrient content, but the microbial activity is the biggest key of the whole thing. Now, having said that, some organic inputs are just going to be better than others, and that's where one of the things that we're working on right now is figuring out what is the best thing to put in. And we don't want to have to mix a lot of inputs, because now you're also dealing with bringing in a lot of different materials. If we can get one or two inputs and this gives us a really good output, that's where we want to focus, because now we're also going to keep expenses down, where it's going to be easier to make the material. So there's things like that to consider too. So
Yeah.
And it will end up being site specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, can you take what's coming from your farm and make that into a viable product? And that's why all the different products will be ran through testing and see the potency of it. And so, we have really the best ground and area to be able to test on, because we have so many different varieties of things grow within a 10-mile radius from me. I mean, you could go from berries to cherries to almonds and different all types of nuts and stone fruit and grapes. I mean, they're all within a radius of 10 miles from our central location. So that's why we're gonna be able to test in all those areas and be able to determine what's going on. It's going to be good. We're trying to gear up, because once February 1st comes, it becomes really live out here. So December and January are kind of the building block.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing like grains, like wheat, barley, oats, stuff like that as well in your testing?
We aren't currently testing that. We have run it in the past. We're not running those products at the moment, but we've processed them before.
So that's kind of where I'm playing around, Ken, is again with the greens and browns, the bases that would be part of a formulation or a recipe for the farmer to follow, because again, these kinds of resources like commercial compost, super cheap. Pretty much every city or town has one person dealing with it. You also have, animals. So most people will have, straw or hay, and there's a lot of that available, especially like the hay when it rots. You can't feed it to the animals anymore. And straw is so cheap and used for erosion control. So it's everywhere. So those are some of the base products that I'm playing with to get the seed end ratio to the sweet spot, so I can feed that information to Mo and Matt for next season. When they're ready to roll, we'll have that figured out by then.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So we'd had one more question here we want to get to. Will there be a powder version?
Not exactly a powder version, but we do generate a certain amount of solids that, depending on how we run the system, more solid can be collected if that's an end desire, and that could be, that can be dried to some degree, and so not an actual powder, but a solid version, yeah.
More of a gel form, yeah. Just has to do that.
Yeah.
It could be a bagged product. We did a little bit of work on that in Agerman, where I pressed the material to a certain moisture content so it wouldn't go anaerobic. But I didn't get the bacterial, or what I want to say, the biological plethora that comes out in the liquid. So yeah, there will be probably at some point a place or someone that wants to actually convert this to what I would consider an amazing compost starter, or something like that, or a top cover for top dressing. But that's we got a lot more to get through before we get there.
Yeah, definitely, but possible. Yeah, possible in the future.
Well, I think there's just more research because you guys have so many applications, so many available products that you can go down so many different wormholes to find new uses, whether it's on, battleships and cruise ships to, regular farming applications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the reason why we are the first interdisciplinary company in Los Alamos, is because their top dog, or I want to say queen, when we kind of had our first interview with them, she was just like shaking her head, and finally one of the other guys spoke up and said, "Hey, you have so many different directions you can go in. Where do you want to go?" And that's where Greg and I piped up, all of them, right? We all of them, and so, they got excited, and they brought in all these different scientists from each discipline to kind of hear us and see what they could contribute to helping us get to the end of the runway, and begin to really understand, all right, what direction should we take it in? So be determined. And again, 2026 is going to be an amazing year because of all of these attributes.
It's going to be something.
Yeah, as a team that we're doing. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
It's exciting right now, and it's going to get more.
Yeah, we're starting with 2. That's why we're only working on. Yeah, we're starting with 2 products, but I said there's 5 on the calendar right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what Leighton's going to bring to the table. He's probably going to hit me up with another 5 by the end of the year. So,
Yep.
Well, I'm trying not to overwhelm you because you still got a lot of shit you got to do before friggin' February. So,
I'll
bring them to you next summer.
Well, and we'll have multiple series of systems running. So we'll run our primaries for our volume, and then we'll also have multiple units set up for testing. So we're never in the testing mode, I don't think, at this point.
That's going to be ongoing.
Yeah, but we'll have more availability where we don't have to shut something down to do an additional test. We'll be able to do it side by side, which that would be important for us.
Yep. And again, all of this is to be determined, right? And Mo, when I first just committed to Mo, I just said, all right, I'm all in. I'm here to the end. I said, I figured maybe 2-3 years I'll have you figured out. And Mo laughed at me. And I'm like, why are you laughing at me, man? He goes, no, you're not. We're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
I did say that. Yeah.
And the deeper I go, last time I saw you, Mo, I said, you know what? I was wrong, Mo. I owe you an apology. I was dead wrong. There's no way I'm going to get to all of this by the end of my life.
I told you.
Yeah, no. It just keeps unfolding more, possibilities. And, I try to keep Mo and myself in a lane to complete each one as we go. And like I say, Leighton, that's important. So we know what we got. But, there's going to be, plenty to come, 2026 for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Well, listen, I think the future is going to be amazing.
Yes, it really is. And again, you can say you knew us when we didn't know anything. Ken.
Yep.
Well, I remember when I introduced you to Gary, and you're going, "Well, that's not possible. That's not possible." And he's going, "Well, yeah, we have the evidence right here." It's an amazing journey that I've personally been able to watch from the very beginning, and I'm just so proud of you guys and for all the work you have done and are doing. And Craig, looking at all those slides and trying to figure out how everything works together, man, my brain would blow up, man.
It's been months and months and months, 2.5 years in the process. So, it's more of a fire hose at times, but just a gradual, constant stream each day. So we're working towards putting the pieces together.
So listen, I really want to thank Mo and Matt for taking the time to, 2 hours of their time is a lot with all the projects they got going on to come on here and give us an update on what's going on. Craig, you as well. Appreciate your time, brother. And Ken, as always, thank you for the time that you put in behind the scenes to make this happen every week. And you guys, I'm going to start pinging you in a couple of months to get you back on to find out what's going on. So
absolutely.
Anytime you let me know.
All right, brother.
And somebody's asking if there's a way they can invest.
Yeah, reach out to ESS. What is it, muncher.com, Mo, or Ecosphere?
Go to ecospheresciences.com or essmuncher.com and go to our contact page. You can send us an email, and yeah, we can absolutely talk to you about that.
Cool.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I think we're at the top of 2 hours. You have any housekeeping, Glenn?
No, just that sorry for last Wednesday. Andy's computer internet was down, so we weren't able to do the show. We'll be doing it this week. Guys, remember, it is all about the biology, whether it's, our soils, our plants, our own bodies. It all boils down to the biology that is available to us. So just keep putting out more biology and then more into your bodies, guys.
We will.
All right.
That's what we do.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hey, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
See you guys.